and they were only capturing about 25-30% of the plant, and the rest was majority of it falling to the ground. Even if every pound of produce was going to every possible demand of food banks, there'd still be tens of billions of pounds of edible food going to waste.
Hello and welcome to the 12th episode of Join Us at the Table. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Albanie.
And today's guest is Christine Moseley. She is the founder and CEO of Full Harvest, a company working to reinvent the food system to help eliminate food waste at the farm level. She was recently deemed the #2 most innovative woman in the food and drink industry by the Food and Wine magazine, and mentioned by Forbes in the 25 most innovative startups in ag tech.
So Christine, welcome and thank you for joining us. Would you mind starting out by telling us a little bit about you and how you came to establish the first B2B marketplace for imperfect and surplus produce?
Sure. So my background is I spent 15 years both in the logistics industry as well as the food industry, and helped to scale one of the first green juice companies in the US. And during that experience, fell in love with the food industry and loved what they were doing in terms of healthy food. I was just frustrated that they were selling $13 green juices. And it was because they were paying top dollar for perfect looking produce just to immediately process it. So as an entrepreneur throughout my life, I wanted to figure out how to make healthy food more affordable and sustainable and accessible. And so moved out to California 6 years ago. And that's right when these shocking food waste statistics had just come out that were staggering. And sadly, over the last 5 years, we've gotten more data that's found that even more of food is being wasted than we thought. And it's even a bigger impact on climate and other things than we thought. But my moment of where I realized what Full Harvest needed to be was when I went out to one of the largest farms in the country and watched as they harvested romaine hearts for the grocery store to perfectly bag it. And they were only capturing about 25-30% of the plant, and the rest was majority of it falling to the ground. And I was just stepping up to my calves on perfectly edible romaine leaves that were beautiful. They were just the outside of the lettuce, and just was heartbroken to see so much perfectly beautiful and edible produce going to waste when we were dealing with a drought, climate change, and 1 in 7 people going hungry in the US, and couldn't understand why it wasn't going into the green juices I had just been making, and realized that it was due to consumers getting pickier and pickier, but it wasn't being solved due to a lack of technology and a lack of innovation. So that's what led me to build Full Harvest, which is both a tech and an innovation company and the first B2B marketplace for imperfect and surplus produce.
Wow, awesome. So maybe kind of going off of that, you kind of covered it, but if there's anything to elaborate on the mission of Full Harvest, and then maybe if you could touch on some of the biggest opportunities that you see to create change in the future with the vision of Full Harvest.
Sure. So our vision is a world with 0% food waste and 100% full harvests. And what we mean by that is that everything that is grown goes towards consumption that's edible. And currently, recent data, as I mentioned, has found through you guys, through Santa Clara University, that 1/3 of all edible produce does not even leave the farm level, which is a massive amount of perfectly edible food that should be sold and help solve the huge food waste problem by getting it to market. So we really see what our role in the ecosystem is we are the experts on solving on-farm food loss. And that is, what we become thought leaders on. And we view it as one of the most scalable and largest opportunities in the very complex, massive food waste problem, just because the numbers are staggering when it's 1/3 of American production alone that we can help get out there to the burgeoning food and beverage world that doesn't need to care what produce looks like in certain instances. So really at scale, we would love to have everyone using our marketplace that doesn't need to care what produce looks like, and utilizing sustainable produce to the fullest extent possible so that we can have more and more full harvests and growers can get the most out of their fields.
Right. Yeah. And you were part of that research. You helped us and you collaborated with Dr. Baker on it.
Yeah.
And like you said, a third of food being wasted, that's insane.
Yes.
So after you collaborated with CFIE on that research, how did that change your business practices or your outlook on what you want to do?
Yeah, it was really foundational in terms of, prior to the report coming out, I was being asked by so many people, including previous report writers, that, did great work, but it wasn't as, detailed and comprehensive, asking us what we were seeing. And all I kept saying was just, I think this problem is way larger than we think and what is being documented. And so the findings from Santa Clara University was just so validating and helpful to help, put to numbers what we were seeing and what we were, thinking that the size of the problem was. It really just validated what we're doing and how important the work is we're doing, and how, made us, I think, that much more excited about what we're working on in terms of really making an impact. I think there's just such a misconception that, oh, there's channels for this off-grade product, or, oh, if you are, helping with that, you're taking food from food banks. We actually love supporting food banks. And, only a few 100 million pounds of produce goes to food banks per year, now maybe more so with COVID. And there are tens of billions of pounds of produce going to waste every year at the farm level. So people don't understand that, even if, every pound of produce was going to every possible demand of food banks, there'd still be tens of billions of pounds of edible food going to waste. So it really just helped us to, focus even more so on some of the work we're doing at the farm level to solve for that. So.
Great. Yeah. So kind of going off of these crazy numbers that you've seen and the work that you've been doing, we're wondering if you could speak to any shifts that you've seen that are happening on the farms regarding alternative markets for edible produce that maybe hasn't met the rigorous standards in the past.
Well, we're definitely seeing, people being more open-minded to work with us. We sell surplus and off-grade, but one of the things we do at Full Harvest that's unique out there, that no one else is really doing, is innovating with these growers and helping them to understand that there are certain byproducts or waste streams that they may not realize that there are buyers out there for, or that if some samples were sent and product development was done, that people might want to purchase that. And so our innovative specs are some of, what I'm most proud of, because it's truly net new product that no one else is really selling, and is truly, solving food waste, that would not have otherwise happened, in terms of saving that. And so we're just seeing people being more open and innovative and with us when we're, offering that service up. And in general, we're seeing people think more clearly about how to, change some of their processes, maybe for the long run, to be a bit more sustainable and or vertically integrated, to capture product from the field and source it, or split it up in terms of pieces that then could be sold. Lettuce is, for example, used to be packed in the field, and some people are now bringing it into, shed packing facilities to actually be able to capture in a more controlled environment those outside leaves that would fall in the field if it wasn't done in a shed. So it's happening.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for covering those. It's inspiring to see at least some change happening. So we recently saw that Full Harvest was selected by Salesforce, World Central Kitchen, and the Eat, Learn, Play Foundation, established by Stephen and Aisha Curry, to help farmers and food insecure families that have been impacted by COVID-19. Can you speak a little about this initiative and the role that Full Harvest is fulfilling?
Sure. Yeah. We're extremely grateful to be able to help out during this time of need. We feel that COVID has just kind of shined a light on the fact that technology is critical to help in situations like this, where there's rapid shifts in supply demand, and it's very difficult to do that offline and over the phone, which is why, heartbreakingly, we've seen even more food go to waste and even more people go hungry. And so we've been fortunate enough to be, in the middle with one of the few technology solutions and expertises on how to shift, new markets. And so a lot of people reached out to us, foundations, Salesforce, even the government. And so we were really excited because we actually got going first with World Central Kitchen and Eat, Learn, Play, and then got connected to Salesforce and all combined forces. And now we've shipped over 50,000 boxes in California, and now we've expanded to New York, and another 40,000 in New York. And so just really excited about the impact that we've been able to help with all of these amazing partners to do during this time of helping both growers during this time of need that may have product that they lost some demand for due to the food service industry going down, and then feeding families because right now a lot of people can't afford food, can't afford rent. It's really sad. And so putting nutritious food in their hands for free and that can last them a week for their family has been really powerful and meaningful for our team.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's crazy to hear the numbers of people that are suffering right now from loss of jobs, and the farmers, the way they're being impacted from a decrease in demand from the restaurant level. So great to hear that this work you're doing is really reaching a lot of people. And so we're wondering how you kind of envision Full Harvest emerging and or changing from the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that this has been a wake-up call for the need for technology. I'm really hoping that we've actually had a lot of people reaching out to us, like I said, and so really having people more open-minded and trialing new, advanced, solutions for sourcing supply, which it's not even that advanced. It's as easy as using Amazon, but just a new way of thinking about sourcing. And I really think that these nonprofit and box programs, I hope and think that it will be more of a long-term systemic change, because I think we're realizing that it's a win-win in terms of, yes, it needs subsidizing. It would be amazing if the government institutes their current short-term program into a longer-term solution, because what a great thing to put subsidies towards, feeding people and then solving food waste, which is the #1 contributor to climate change. So huge impact. And so my hope is that there are long-term channels for subsidies in order to have companies like Full Harvest and other people continue to both help farmers that have access and feed those that are in need.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree that it's a group effort. Both individuals and farmers, we all have to do something. And I hope you're right that local governments will come to help us in the future.
Yeah.
So to provide a little bit of inspiration for our viewers, could you tell us how you stay motivated about your work, even when it feels like there's challenges in your way preventing you from achieving your goals?
Sure. I think some of the most motivating things is, seeing my team at work and, sometimes seeing the outcome of what we've done in terms of some big launch or, just the tangible outcomes of what we're doing. And that also comes in means of testimonials from some of our customers. When we hear that we, have really helped one of our customers or one of our farmers, that just really, drives us every day. And then, it's pretty cool to, I think one of my most proud moments was when I went to a store and I looked on the shelf and, there were quite a few products that I knew had Full Harvest sustainable produce in it, which was really a dream come true because of, years ago, having worked in the industry and knowing that previously that probably wouldn't have been sustainable produce, and, really seeing the outcome of some of the impact that we're making. So it's really been rewarding in that sense.
Great. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, we're wondering if you have any advice to current students that are interested in sustainable food systems, maybe how they could get involved with either Full Harvest or other food recovery initiatives.
Sure. So, I mean, we cater to businesses, but really our businesses are consumer packaged good companies. So, I would say that very soon here you will be seeing products with Full Harvest name on it. It would be great to support that because it is the most sustainable produce supply chain out there, and helping to solve food waste by purchasing those products. that said, I get asked a lot for advice on how consumers themselves can make an impact. A really big thing that people don't realize, and it actually was something I learned from Anthony Bourdain's documentary called Wasted that came out a couple years ago. The number one thing a consumer can do is compost, because it may seem counterintuitive because you think, oh, it's going to a landfill and it's composting, but it's actually the opposite. It actually extremely slows down the composting process, where a watermelon can take up to 20 years to compost, and it mixes with other toxic things, and it's releasing methane, which is over 30 times more powerful than carbon. But when it's composted, it's contained, and it's composting on its normal cycle within days or weeks. And then those methane emissions can be used towards biofuels or bioplastics and things like that. So I think, that's something that I like to educate on and help people be aware of. But other than that, making sure that you're really careful with meal planning and not wasting within your home, especially during COVID. I learned a hack while I've been sheltered in place of putting all of the stuff on my top shelf that I need to eat first. And it's really helped, because then I go to that first. And then just buying ugly produce and sustainable products, I think, is always a big way to make an impact as well. So, those are both ways to support Full Harvest and support the planet. And if you are interested in anything that we're doing, both job-wise or collaboration-wise, feel free to reach out on fullharvest.com or info@fullharvest.com.
Great. Absolutely. We will do that.
Mhm.
I love your point about composting. That's
Yeah.
definitely not what I would have thought to hear
Yeah.
from you, but totally makes sense.
Mhm.
And I like how you touch on the environmental impacts, because, we all have a duty.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Christine, thank you so much. The work you're doing at Full Harvest is incredible,
Great.
and I know that you're going to go on to keep changing the world. So,
Oh,
thank you for taking the time out of your day to educate Brandon and I and the rest of our audience. We've all learned so much from you.
thank you so much. Yeah, it was great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Christine.
Okay. Bye.